Okay, now we're going to talk about the fossil record. Anybody here know much about the fossil record? About what has been found in the strata of geological time? Macroevolution occurs over fast time frames. Nobody argues that. If macroevolution is true, the fossil record will be full of millions and millions of transitional forms. Okay? You make your note. You don't need a note. You're making notes that you don't need. False. The fossils that are touted as transitional forms are very scarce. The story of the whale evolution is a great example. Evolutionary literature asserts that there were 5 to 10 transitional forms found in the fossil record between Indohyus and the whale. Because you come up with a story, like I said, it's an interesting story, because you come up with a story that says, well, we think that this animal here, and then this other animal we found is extinct, they kind of went, he turned into that one, they turned into the next one, and they always have a reason for saying that. Like the bones are heavy, so that they can't float. That would make it a transitional form to a whale. They don't really have a whole lot of real good reasons. I went through this and we've done this before and I have a lot of data on it, but I don't have time right now. Just because they have heavier bones, or one of them had nostrils in the front, highest, and the next one had a nostril about an inch higher, and eventually they hypothesized that it ended up back here as a blowhole. Okay, I mean, there's no scientific evidence or proof of that. It's just that they said that's what it had to be. Indohyus, 24 inches long, 10 pounds. About the size of my Maltese. He's about 24 inches long, but he's about 10 pounds. And you see a blue whale, 80 feet long, 400,000 pounds. I saw a wonderful, wonderful story about whales. Giants in the ocean. Those things are so wonderful to watch. They are really. I just couldn't get over how big that animal is. Largest mammal, 400,000 pounds. How many transitional forms would there be between the Indohyus and the blue whale? Millions, if not billions. Everything has to change with this animal to do this. It doesn't, the Indohyus gets pregnant and lays a blue whale. It doesn't happen. Would take millions of minute changes, as evolutionary theory predicts. But this is their story. This is Stephen Jay Gould. Stephen Jay Gould is a very famous paleontologist, writes textbooks, taught at Harvard, all kinds of places. American paleontologist, evolutionary biologist, and best-selling writer of popular science books. After attending graduate school at Columbia University, he became a professor at Harvard. He's an influential popular science writer. Probably heard of him. Here's what he said. The extreme rarity of transitional forms in the fossil record persists as the trade secret of paleontology. The evolutionary trees that adorn our textbooks have data only at the tips and nodes of their branches. The rest is inference. However reasonable, not the evidence of fossils. We fancy ourselves as the only true students of life's history, yet to preserve our favorite account of evolution by natural selection, we view our data as so bad that we never see the very process we profess to study. This is an evolutionist, a very smart guy. This is what he came up with. Due to the lack of evidence of transitional forms, Gould developed the theory of punctuated equilibrium, which proposes that evolution is marked by long periods of stability, punctuated by rare instances of evolution. This idea contradicted the accepted idea at the time of Darwinian evolution, which stated that evolutionary change was equally spread over time. Critics referred to this idea as hopeful monster theory. Now, punctuated equilibrium is still taught as a possibility to explain the fact that there are very little transitional forms. And the ones they are, you can't prove that they are in the fossil record. It's kind of like coming up with, in cosmology, the idea of infinite amount of universes so we can live in a universe that will sustain life. It's the same idea. Here's the thinking. We know evolution is true, so we're going to state that as the first step. But we can't find transitional forms to show that it really happened. Therefore, we're going to come up with a new idea, has absolutely no scientific basis, and call it punctuated equilibrium. This is how, when you believe something is true, you come up with something to explain it, even if it doesn't, there's no scientific data to prove it or to show it. All right? That's what he did. Darwin. Why, if species have descended from other species by fine graduations, do we not everywhere see innumerable transitional forms? Charles Darwin. Of course, Charles Darwin was back in the 1850s. So, you know, I guess paleontology was not had not progressed as far as it has today. Let me tell you something. It has progressed to where there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fossils documented. Still hasn't changed. They're not there. There are people who put them there, who wanted to be there, but they're not there. But I bet you learned in school, maybe you didn't learn in school, but your kids learned in school, that they were there. That there are all these transitional forms, changes, little bitty changes at a time, going from an endohyas to a whale. Doesn't exist. If macroevolution is true, the fossil record, prediction number 2, will provide a smooth transition through time with older organisms at the bottom and newer species above them. False. Cambrian explosion. If you know anything about that. These are some of the fossils. The geological era during which most major aminal phyla appeared, fully formed. No predecessors have been found from the strata below the Cambrian. This fact challenges the dogma of macroevolution. There has been no credible explanation by evolutionists. In other words, they went back and they found the Cambrian layer, and this has been found like 3 places in the world. They said this is the Cambrian because how far down it was. And they pulled all these fully formed animals, and they're all marine animals, out of that. Really strange animals. If you ever get into the Cambrian explosion and look at that fossils, really weird stuff that we've never seen before because they're all extinct. And they said, well, if you go down to Precambrian, there's got to be some precursors to all those animals. There are none. And they said, well, the reason there are none is because the soft-bodied animals do not get preserved in fossils. Not true. All kinds of fossils of jellyfish, totally